Hello everybody, this is John and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're talking about Groo the Wanderer. I just grabbed the first issue of it, but I'll be talking about Groo the Wanderer in general. Groo the Wanderer was a creation of Sergio Aragones, and I'm pretty sure everybody who watches my videos is at least familiar with Sergio Aragones' artwork, if not the artist himself. But he worked for Mad Magazine, and he did, I used to call them the little people, but it turns out they're called the marginals, the little artwork up in the top corners of Mad Magazine and in between panels. Sergio Aragones was actually on TV in Laugh-In, and he's kind of like world famous. And he created Groo the Wanderer in the 70s as a goof on Conan the Barbarian, but comic book companies wouldn't publish it because he didn't want to give up the rights to the comic. It wasn't until Pacific Comics, a short-lived but very, very, I thought, very influential, very important comic book company came around. Groo is written and drawn by Sergio Aragones, and then it's rewritten by Mark Evanier, because Sergio, I think, only speaks Spanish. I think his English is very limited, and then so Mark and Sergio kind of collaborate on that, and Stan Sakai does the lettering, and he's important because he does Usagi Yojimbo, the Rabbit Samurai comic I showcased a while ago, and while Usagi has become near and dear in my heart, I just love that character in the story. I gotta give Groo credit. It's a comic that I've been collecting since '82, and I love it. And it has the distinction of being one of the humorous comics that it's actually funny. Sometimes I just crack up laughing, and one of the things about it is it's just filled with inside jokes that just been going on for years and years and years. Well, anyway, let's get into the comic. Groo the Wanderer debuted in Destroyer Duck, a Pacific Comic one-shot, and that was to raise money for creators in need of medical assistance, and he did like a 4 or 5 page backup story, and then he like a couple of pages in Mark Grell's Star Slayer, and then boom, here he is in his first full-length comic by PC. This lasted about 8 issues. Then there was an Eclipse Comics one-shot, and then it went to Marvel Comics under the Epic line, and it lasted about 120 issues. And then it went to Image. I forget how long it lasted with Image, and then it went to Dark Horse, where it's not an ongoing series. It's just like a series of miniseries. So it'll come out 4 issues, and then you won't see it for a year or two, and whatever. And that's where it is today with Dark Horse. So that's another running gag is in the letters page. The letters page is actually pretty funny to read. And one of the gags is Sergio's like, next issue, Groo #1, and Mark's like, no, it's Groo, whatever, 87 or whatever. He's like, no, let's make it #1. So goofing on the facts that it's been so many companies. Well, here he is. Here's Groo, little dog. This isn't his dog Rafferto. This is years before Rafferto debuted, and he's got his katanas. Nobody knows what that is. That's another gag in itself. Nobody knows what's in his pouches. And let's just go in. So here's Sergio Aragones. Here's his biography for him. He's always got the crazy mustache, goofy face, and he's just a famous worldwide cartoonist. So this is 1982, published bi-monthly by Pacific Comics. Okay, so hopefully you recognize this art style. So here's Sergio introducing the concept in the characters. Tom Luth is the colorist. He also did the coloring for Usagi Yojimbo up until like a couple of issues ago, where he retired. So here's a typical opening splash page. It's normally like a double page spread, and so here we go. We got Sergio Aragones, who comes up with the stories and the art, and then interpreter Mark Evanier cleans it up and puts it into English. Calligraphy, Stan Sakai, who does the lettering. The coloring, Gordon Kent. Oh, this is before Tom Luth. Okay, so what do I know? And it usually starts with like some rhyming couplet, and just wonderful detail. I mean, you could just go with a magnifying glass and look at all the detail. And this is typical Groo. Friends and enemies. His only positive trait is he's an unparalleled swordsman. He could take he could take out hordes of people in a fight, and he loves to fight. And that's just one of the things. He'll get carried away in the middle of a fight, and then everybody will be dead, including his allies. And he's like, oh, like he just gets carried away. So that's just a go. So the story doesn't even matter. But just look at this wonderful artwork, and there's a whole bunch of recurring characters. I'm not gonna, because the only way to go over the jokes, everything, is to actually read it. But I'm not gonna read. I'm just giving you a taste. I'm pretty sure that these 8 issues of the Pacific Comics are collected, and it started out as one-page stories, and there was a few multi-parters and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's a 1 or 2 one and done story. I'm just bringing back memories. These are all recurring characters. So many recurring characters, and the inside jokes. It's just goofy, and like somebody said the word mulch to him, and he became obsessed with the word mulch and mulch. And the other is, did I err? He'll goof and wreck stuff. He's always motivated by hunger. And the thing about Groo is he's generally a good guy. Like he's not a liar. He's not deceitful. He's guileless, but he's stupid. He's destructive, and he's like the greatest swordsman in the world. So, to the point where he'll like walk into a town, and people will be like, "Groo's here," and people just start packing up, and one guy will drop something, and the city will end up destroying itself just because Groo walked by. And then the thing is, Groo wasn't even going there; he was walking near it. His ability to destroy ships is so bad that he could step on a boat, and the boat will just sink. And apparently that Refrudo, his good luck charm, if Refrudo is with him, the boat at least won't sink the moment Groo gets on it, but it will have a problem. Very rarely does Groo come out ahead. He's like the consummate loser. He gets distracted easy. He forgets who he's fighting for. He's incredibly stupid. People take advantage of him constantly, but he's like optimistic, like very, he sound sleeper. He's always generally happy, generally pleasant. I think in this early stages, his personality wasn't full-fledged. There's actually him, he outwits somebody. Prince Sergio, this is a character. He's a general that always takes advantage of Groo, and then Groo is like, every time they meet, he goes, "I forget, can you tell me, are we friends or are we enemies?" And he's like, "Oh, we're the best friends." It's like, "Oh, Groo, oh, great." So, he's dumb. But in this series, he actually like thinks his way out of a trap, which is like the single time that happens. He's dumb. He's got a sister, Gruella, who hates him, and she's conniving and scheming. She's like everything that he, the opposite of him. And she hates Groo, and she always uses Groo to further her own means. And Groo's always like loyal to his sister. Then there's Granny Groo, who's a traveling gypsy con woman, and of course she takes advantage of Groo, and then it usually ends with him getting a spanking. There's Chakal, a beautiful female warrior who Groo is hopelessly in love with, and she's the only one who could probably beat Groo in a sword fight. And sometimes she's glad to see him because she could use some help. But most of the time, it's like, "Oh, great, Groo's here," so you can subscribe. It's a weird, because there's like dinosaurs. It was originally set in, Rocketeer, this is good. It was originally set in like a goof on medieval Europe, but he's traveled to like Silver Star. These are Jack Kirby comics, Captain Victory. This is what put PC on the map, Pacific Comics. This sold something like 300,000 copies, and people were like, "What?" Everybody turned around. He's a backup character, the Sage. He wanders around and dispenses good advice, and of course Groo never listens to him. And this was a running gag for like 10 years. What's the dog's name? What's the dog's name? What's the dog's name? So there was like a big reveal of the dog's name, and of course, what was the dog's name? Mulch, because the word mulch is funny and it's become a running joke. So he'll give people advice, and he's like Cassandra. Nobody ever listens to him, but he's the opposite of Groo. Harmless, helpful, but the destruction caused in his wake is because people are ignoring him. Well, they misinterpret his advice. Okay, so here they are throwing catapults. He teaches them how to make catapults, and what do? They put people in the catapults, and their army gets destroyed. Or Twisted Tales. I already did a showcase on Twisted Tales. This was Alien Worlds. This was like Twisted Tales, but sci-fi stories. Oh, I forgot about this. This was so good. I'll work at Melbourne by Roy Thomas, Craig Piqueur. Oh, this was so good. I gotta find these and bring these out. But anyway, like I said, each story is there's politics in it. I wonder how dated it has become over time. But there's at the time there was a lot of stuff that I agreed with, that I disagree with now. But it's not like in your face preachy. It's good. It's such quality, such fun, such a lighthearted comic, and like I said, it is generally funny, and it rewards the long-time reader. Like the more you read it, the funnier and funnier it gets. The only thing to compare it to was the early '80s David Letterman, where there's a lot of inside jokes that when you first watch it or read Groo, you're like, okay, what did I get? But then after you read it for a while, you're like, oh, okay, that's good. And then you read it again, and you just crack it up. So there you go. This is Sergio Aragones, Groo the Wanderer. Just a good, fun, lighthearted comic. Enjoy. Please like, please subscribe. See you around. Bye-bye.